Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV. And now we're actually on our own radio channel as well. So exciting. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is The Art of Creating Mental Health Wealth. Joining me this and every week is my friend and a wonderful person here. She's a very big influence in our direction moving forward. I just have nothing but love in my heart for her. Let's welcome Jenetta Barry and the Epiphany Process.
Oh, Dr. JACALYN, hello everybody and welcome. And Dr. JACALYN, you could be taking the words out of my mouth because I think you're amazing in what you're doing. Just wow. The content and quality that comes out of this platform is amazing.
Well, thank you, Jenetta. You know, we were just having a quick chat backstage, and it is interesting that people are coming from all over the world and how we're coming together. And it is a process, as you know, and it takes time, but we keep growing and building. And people who have extensive amount of experience in media are coming to this platform, and they're a part of it. So thank you for being here. And I'm just thrilled that we're doing this together.
Me too, and I'm thrilled with what it is that we in this show are creating week by week by being able to showcase other people and their abilities and their talent, and to show how in the greatest adversity, the most amazing things can happen. And our guest today is a prime example of that. I can't wait to introduce her when we get to there. So stay tuned.
I'm excited too. She is backstage. So before we bring her out, for people who are joining us for the first time, Jenetta, I'm going to spotlight you. And if you can share a little bit about the Epiphany Process, what it is, and the value that it brings to your clients.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. The Epiphany Process is a process that I actually studied and researched and worked on myself, and I had to work through it over weeks and months and years to get myself into a place of normality again. Because 16 years ago, one day I was having a really very important, valuable, necessary conversation with my 16-year-old daughter, Jenny. And she was breaking all the safekeeping house rules. And I was putting them into place and saying, you've got to see it through. And it escalated into an enormously nasty argument. And she left in an absolute rage from my room to her room to pack to leave home. And after a while, I sensed something wasn't right. And I went to look for her. And, excuse me, and I found her in her bathroom where she had actually taken her life. And it was an absolute shock, but at the same time, it was an absolute relief. It was such a mixture of contrary emotions because we had been walking a walk with Jenny over some years of her having suicidal ideation and in and out of rehabilitation to try and get her through it. So part of me was very relieved, and the other part of me was absolutely devastated. And it really brought my whole life down to ground zero. And 9 months after Jen died, I decided that I had to find an accurate way and ways to get out of this. And that's what I did. I started researching and going through every which way. And I still work on it. It's not something that goes away. But I do have it in a place of manageability, so that when things come in that do test me about it, I'm almost immediately able to go into a place of seeing the bigger picture and having an open-hearted understanding of that bigger picture. So realizing that I had walked the walk and talked the talk, I then expanded the work and offered it to people internationally online. 14 years ago, I started online on Skype with my clients all over the world. I had New York, I had Australia, Kenya, which is where I'm from, UK, people from all over the place. And I've been working with them ever since. And one of the things is that we call it, all my clients admit that it's like mental and emotional and even spiritual gym, where you apply these skills and techniques, and like any skill you have to practice and apply it all the time. And the success rate has been phenomenal, from people who've been put into serious PTSD in terrorist attacks, people who are self-harming and unable to get out of bed, other people who are just so challenged from day to day. They've been able to step forward. In fact, today, one of my clients shared an old post from Facebook showing how she'd got over a social media fear about what everybody thought about, and she was obsessed with social media, and this process helped her to get through that. So there have been many ways it's helped people. And one of the things that we noticed after Jen died was that she died on the 10th of October, which is World Mental Health Day. So we've married into the Epiphany process World Jenny's Day. And our guest today is very connected to World Jenny's Day. She's one of World Jenny's Day's ambassadors, and she has the most incredibly heart-warming opening story of courage and fortitude to share with us.
Thank you so much, Jenetta. I really appreciate everything that you were talking about. This is a challenging time for all of us around the world. All you have to do is turn on network news, at least here in the States, and every day it's something else. So that's why we bring good news stories here of hope and inspiration. And I'm really excited for our guest to join us. So would you like to just introduce her quickly?
Yes, absolutely. So, to all our viewers, I am beyond proud and pleased to introduce to you actually Dr. Karen Darke, who's become a very precious friend to me over this past year since we met. And when you hear the synergy of how we met and why we are affiliated, my heart gets even more filled with that wow factor. And Karen Darke is a British Paralympic cyclist. She's a para-triathlete, adventurer, and author. And at the 2016 Rio Paralympics Games, she won gold in the women's road time trial, following her success in the 2012 London Paralympics, where she won a silver medal in the women's road time trial. And Karen is from here, from UK. She was born in Halifax in Yorkshire. And I'm not going to say too much about her story. We'll let her so very capably tell you her background and how she ended up doing what she is doing today and having achieved what she's achieved from a very, very big life test. So, and before I hand over to Karen, I do want to also add that Karen was awarded an MBE, Member of the Order of the British Empire, in 2017 in the New Year's Honours Lists for services to sport. So without much more ado, ladies and gentlemen, Karen Darke.
Welcome, Karen.
Wow.
Nice to have you.
What an introduction. Thank you, Jenetta. And hi, Dr. JACALYN. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
for having
me. When was the last time you two saw each other?
We've never met. Physically
my
never met.
I love
it's
that.
A virtual friendship. There's quite a few of those, I think, since our world has gone different.
It is amazing, and it feels as though we've met and not ever really done virtual. It's been an amazing journey together.
Yeah, absolutely. There's this connection that we discovered mainly through the numbers 7 and 9. So I don't know how I listened to a kind of introduction like Jenetta gave me there, and these I don't really identify myself as anything particularly, but I suppose I'm very intrigued by the connection that my life has had to gold. So I used to be a gold geologist, and then I obviously ended up spending a number of years chasing gold medals as a Paralympic athlete. And then during that process, the numbers 7 and 9 the number 79 kept coming up in my life. And it began in Rio. I realized that I'd won the gold medal, but it was the 79th medal for Britain in the Paralympic Games. And I'd forgotten entirely, despite being a gold geologist, that 79 is the atomic number of gold. And then I started to realize that this number was cropping up everywhere in my life, and began a project called Quest 79, which invites people to step out of their comfort zone and do something perhaps that they've always wanted to do, or something they used to do but have lost contact with, and to set themselves a bit of a challenge with that, to reconnect with something that they've maybe lost inside themselves by committing to doing something. And I really believe, I suppose through my own journey, that we don't get to surprising places without quite a lot of challenges, but also being able to just commit to showing up every day and doing something every day that we're excited about and passionate about. So lots of people have been doing different quests, and I've been really inspired by the things people have been doing, but everything from physical things like climbing a mountain 79 times, not in one go, just over a particular time scale, but every day, to people who've written 79 love letters to strangers, 79 acts of kindness, just some really wonderful things. So there's more about that on the website, which is quest79.com, the numbers 79. But that's how Jenetta and I became connected, was through this kind of synergy with these numbers, which was quite mysterious to us. And I certainly had no knowledge of numerology or anything like that beforehand, but I've been really fascinated by this little journey that we seem to be on together. Is that a good summary, Jenetta?
That's fantastic. Yes, it's a wonderful way to start, because I'd still love you to share your backstory, Karen, before we go into Jenny's 7 and 9 numbers, which still blow me sideways. And by the way, Dr. JACALYN, you wearing butterflies today blows me as well, because all the butterflies and the 7 and 9 are so intertwined. But I'd love you to go back to how you started realizing gold and 79 in your backstory right from the very beginning, and then we'll weave in Jenny's 7 and 9 numbers. So if you go back to Bolivia, perhaps start there.
So yeah, I was working as a gold geologist in Bolivia. I was doing a PhD in geology, and that's when I broke my back. So for a while, I wasn't sure if I could go back and do that. But I suppose I always have a calling to the mountains, and something about the PhD that I'd begun felt important to me. And so I went back to it and restarted, and ended up not long after being paralyzed, just a few months afterwards, going out to Bolivia and doing field work out there and investigating gold. And it's really gold that's hidden in the lattice of the rocks. So you can't see it. So in 3 years of studying it for a PhD, I never actually physically saw gold until the very, very end. I think it was the final month, and I suddenly saw this tiny, tiny gold in the middle of, under a very, very high-powered microscope in these rocks. And so I suppose it became a bit of a metaphor to realize that, and the only way of getting this gold out of the rocks at the time, now I really believe there are more environmentally friendly ways to extract it, but at the time it was only through cyanide heat leaching, which is, toxic and was damaging the water systems there. But I suppose the analogy to that is that maybe to get the good stuff out of our cells, we have to go through some struggle and kind of leach it out of ourselves. And maybe that's what happened, what my own processes involved, what Jenetta's processes involved, which really for many of us, life introduces struggles. And I think we can be beaten by them and really become kind of get into a negative mindset about what we've experienced, or we can really look for the learning and the growth and the opportunity in the difficult stuff. And that's what I suppose I've always been inclined to do, and I'm passionate about supporting others to do as well. So yeah, that was kind of my beginnings with gold. And then obviously I had this calling to go and begin racing bikes, and I was never under any illusion that winning gold medals would make my life any better or make me a better person or anything like that. And actually don't really enjoy competition very much, but I did get fascinated by this process of how we just chip away at a big goal and commit to it every day, and what learning and growth that can take us through. So that's really what my journey to Olympic Games and the gold medal was all about for me. It was just seeking the growth, the learning, the possibility, and just being curious and having an experiment in terms of, you know, what might be possible, what might be achievable here. So yeah, winning the gold medal was quite a profound experience for me, because so many things went wrong in Rio. My chain fell off in the middle of the race. I had an injured shoulder, so I spent the week before in a medical center. And I suppose inside I just kind of let go of any pressure, any worry. I was just like, I've done everything I can. That's all I can do, and what's meant to be will be. But it was still a massive shock when I finished the race and thought it hadn't gone well, and then realized that I had actually won the gold. Because in my race, it's not like an all-out race. You're racing against the clock, so you have to wait for everybody to finish to find out what the results are and how you've done. So yeah, that was the 79th medal, and then there began this mysterious journey that I've been on ever since, which feels, yeah, led by something bigger or greater than my brain anyway.
Yeah, that 79 affiliation, I know, went through from gold being the number 79 through to, I know there was some sort of synergy with 79 at the race. What was that 79 affiliation? Oh, so
the team had been joking with me all summer, because I'd been to a cafe chain that's quite well known, and I was slightly addicted to a particular drink there, and I kept asking for it extra hot, and the barista said, just ask for it at 79 degrees. That's the hottest we can make it. So of course all my teammates heard me asking for this, and they just thought I was a complete diva. And I was like, no, that's what they told me to do. So the number 79 just had become this joke all summer in the lead up to the Rio Paralympics. So that's why it was so striking to me when I saw 79 on the medal thing. And then made this connection that, yes, it is the atomic number of gold. That's really, really interesting. And then following the games, there were just lots of little kind of incidences that happened. The only place I could dream of being when I was in Rio for recovery was to go to a place called the Outer Hebrides, some islands that are very remote off the coast of Scotland. And I felt this kind of pull to want to go there. And then suddenly I told a friend, and they knew about this 79 thing. And there was a newspaper article saying that a ferry had run aground, delivering people to the very village I wanted to go to, with 79 passengers stranded on board. So, and then it just went on like that. Everywhere I went, I just kept seeing this number and very mysterious things cropping up with it.
Yeah. Amazing. And so what happened, Dr. JACALYN, is that Karen and I actually met again on the audio app Clubhouse. I met so many interesting, intriguing people, but Karen really stood out because she came up on the Clubhouse stage and talked about Quest 79 and all these synergies with 79. And one of the things that started happening after Jenny died was wherever I went, the numbers 7 and 9 kept on appearing in different ways and forms. And the one day I woke up from a lucid dream of Jenny in her tartan dress as a 7-year-old. And then I realized that it had been 9 months since she had died, and there were a whole load of 7 and 9s within that dream. And I was going, why 7 and 9? What is it about 7 and 9? She was 16 when she died. So here's the other 7, because in numerology, you add all the numbers down to one digit, and 1 and 6 is 7. and it was coming through all the time. And as I got out of bed, and I was going off to the shops, as I was reversing my car, I realized, hang on, there's something, as I started adding it up, to do with her birth date and her death date. So I stopped the car and went back in and started adding up. She was born on the 25th of September, so 2 and 5 is 7, and September is 9, and she was born in 1989, which, if you add up 1989 to one digit, is 9. And then 7 of the 2/5 and 9 of September and 9 of her birth year, if you add up 7 and 9 and 9, it adds up to 7. So I went, okay, now let's look at her death date. And she died on the 10th of the 10th, 2005. And if you take 2005 and bring it to one digit, that's 7. And 10 and 10 to one digit is 2. And 7 and 2 is 9. And suddenly I went, but that's one hang of a coincidence. So I started doing it with all my children's birth dates and my whole family, my mum, my dad, siblings, nephews, niece, everybody. Nobody had anything that had any synergy in their dates like Jenny's. And it's just carried on and on and on in so much of what I do, that when the numbers 16, 7, and 9 start happening a lot around me, I know I have to stop, take a deep breath, and start watching, observing, sensing, hearing, smelling differently for a while to see what that's about. And we were sharing a few weeks back how the theatrical production Insight was born. I was 16 the last time I had performed on that stage in Nairobi in Kenya, and Jenny was 16 when she died. So when I was invited to go and perform there again, I knew I had to do exactly that and listen differently. And that's how Insight, the theatrical production, was born, from the numbers 7 and 9, really. So Karen and I have been affiliating with Quest 79 and Jenny's 7 and 9. And during the course of last year, Patty Dobrovolsky and I, and Patty's been on the show before now as well, we started a Quest 79 challenge of my writing an inspirational piece, and she drawing that piece I'd written over the 79 days before World Jenny's Day 2021. And we set up on the World Jenny's Day website, it's there now, like an advent calendar where each day the quote and the picture were placed on the website as we led up to World Jenny's Day 2021. So it was just so precious to have Karen affiliate with that, be our ambassador, and just to find that synergy.
I think the other synergy, Jenetta, is that you're all about promoting mental health, raising awareness of mental health and the importance of caring for ourselves on that front. And certainly through my own journey, I have become fascinated by how we can keep raising what I would call our baseline emotional state. Like, how do we actually experience more of the positive emotions that make us feel good? And I don't for 1 minute think that that's what life is all about. I don't think it's all about pursuit of happiness and just purely good emotion. Like, everything's duality and we're always going to have contrast. But I think the baseline that we live at is rising and needs to rise, not just individually, but for kind of humanity and our survival, I think. So I think there's some commonality there about your focus on mental health and my passion for the inner gold, what I'm calling, find that inner gold and let's raise that average baseline of how we feel. Yeah.
Karen, first of all, thank you so much for being here today. And just from your opening words, we probably could have 10 or 15 shows just to dig into all that you had shared. Right now, I know some people who are in the hospital or people who are struggling with real issues, and they're in not a great place mentally. And you just shared you broke your back, and then months later you were, you were out in the field. And that in and of itself, we could spend, I'm sure, countless hours discussing. But could you share with our audience, people who are watching and listening, what was it that got you from you're in one state of being physically and mentally, and then all of a sudden that's completely changed, and you have to basically, I would think, reinvent yourself and search deep within yourself to get yourself out into the field? How did you do that?
Well, I suppose that's the key. Like, ultimately, when these difficult things happen to us, whether that's physically or emotionally or whichever way it impacts us, we ultimately, I suppose I just came to this realization that I had a choice. This was my life, and I could choose to feel really sorry for myself and just get into, stay with the emotions that I was clearly having initially, which was the pain of the loss and the grief process, which it very much is. The process that we go through, very much like Jenetta has, and how the process Jenetta supports people to get through. And then I realized, but I can't, if I live like that, like, my energy is going to be fairly negative. Probably people won't want to be around me after a while. It could be a pretty lonely, miserable life. Like, what can I do? I have to approach it differently. I have to look at what I can do, not what I can't do. And our physical form is, it's just part of who we are. It's not really who we are. And so I'm not saying it was an instant or quick or easy process, but I think that dawning and realization that beneath how my body had changed, and despite all the challenges that brought to my emotions and everything else, I was still, a shining spirit that wanted to go out and have adventures and do things. And so I just started to go, okay, how can I do that? How can I do it differently? And then all sorts of kind of opportunities and ways arrived to do that. But there were a couple of incidents that really, I suppose, like, added to my wake-up call in a way. One was a very close friend who died in a climbing accident 3 months after I'd had my accident. And so that was a big wake-up call. We'd climbed together, and he'd not been climbing for 3 months because of what had happened to me, and then decided to go. So that was me going, wow, okay, he's not around anymore, and I still am. So I have to make the most of this life. I can't waste it. I can't feel sorry for myself. I need to get on. And then the other thing was a lady in the hospital who had broken her neck, which meant she'd lost dexterity in her fingers and kind of couldn't use her hands that well. And she had spent 6 months trying to peel a banana, and one day there was a massive party in the hospital ward because she'd finally peeled a banana. And I think that was another really impactful moment for me, where I went, okay, I have been focusing a bit too much on what I haven't got, and the absence and the lack and the loss. And I don't think that's a good way to live, because it usually takes us into a fairly negative spiral in terms of how we feel. So yeah, it woke me up to start to focus my mind very differently and look at, what have we got? What can we do? Where is the abundance, really, instead of the lack? And I think that really changed the whole process going forward for me. And I still try and apply it to every part of my life. And of course, I'm human, so sometimes I get into the kind of thinking about lack and feeling a bit sorry for myself. But I think the more we practice it, the more we can catch ourselves when we get into that kind of thought process and turn it around, so that we can start to think, focus in a way that's much more positive and helpful to move forward.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And I also feel like when we're with like-minded people, because Jenetta and I were talking backstage, sometimes I feel like a total loser. Like, we all have days where we just don't feel great. And when we get together with other people who have, the tools and the skills, and we say, yes, it's okay, because we are human. We don't know what's going to happen to us, but how do we show back up? So thank you for sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Go on, Jenetta.
After you.
You touched there on something that I've been writing about recently and reflecting on quite a lot. And it's intriguing, given that I came from the world of competition, where ultimately you're being measured on performance and put on a podium which has different heights. So, the gold medalist is up highest, and the silver medalist and the bronze medalist. And I think we're always positioning ourselves. Maybe our ego wants to position ourselves in relation to others. And so we're always putting ourselves up or down, or putting others up or down. And I notice people doing that to me as well, you know, and I do it. I do it. I try not to do it, but I guess I still probably do at times. But I think that kind of inequality that we end up creating through the way we perceive other people and then where we position them in relation to ourselves isn't helpful. It's not helpful for our own sense of self and valuing ourselves, and neither is it helpful for anybody else. So I suppose part of my way of living is increasingly just about how do we level everything. And that's not about me flying a disability flag and saying it's of course I'm all for diversity and equality, but it's much more in that huge sense of the word about how we can not position ourselves relative to other people all the time and just accept people as they are, for who they are, for what they bring, and accept ourselves for as we are and who we are and where we are at on any given day. And some days we feel great and bring the best of ourselves, and other days, you know, we struggle for some reason.
Yeah, I love that ability to measure ourselves against ourselves rather than against anybody else, and go, okay, this is what I have done and what I have the potential to do. And what I was going to say then is I've noticed how very important it is when one's in this place of being able to focus on what it is that you do want to create and expand on, is that when those moments of self-doubt and I'm a loser conversation kicks in, is to allow it. Because the moment you don't allow it, you're judging it, and then it puts the volume up on it. But when you know that, and this is, I think, in fact, you and I had a conversation on Sunday, Karen, where we were saying it's amazing how you can feel down and flat and looking at it in a different way. And I believe that it is about being able to say, you know what, I do feel down, I do feel flat, things are not flowing the way they are, and allow that space. I call it the allowing. You can feel always when you go into that place of wallowing, it clicks over where you're going, now I feel really sorry for myself and poor me. And, you know, it's time to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. But what I have also noticed is in that zone of allowing is that when you do share that information of feeling in a trough, that it's with like-minded people who understand what that sharing's about, that it is important to share. And it's equally as important to create a unity, a synergy of pulling it back up again. And that's what I love about you two ladies. I love your energy for that. I love the fact that I can get onto a call and share whatever is and isn't working and say, look, this is working, but this is where I'm really struggling. And know that you're identifying with it and that you're not judging the fact that it's not working and not judging the fact that I'm saying it. These are important ways to move oneself forward. And I think that's where a lot of people get unstuck, is that they think they have to always talk their successes and not realizing that you choose your company from an open-hearted, wise place. Would you agree?
I think absolutely. And I think the best way I would, well, my language for it would be, we can allow what is without needing to perpetuate it. We just need to not get wrapped up in the story. So it's just like the weather, like it might be raining one day, but then probably within a day or two, the sun is going to come out again. And so I just see it the same. Okay, I'm not great today. I've got no energy. I feel sad for some reason. I don't necessarily know why. It's okay, and let go of it. And probably then, you know, definitely the inside sun will come out again. So it's, you know, it's just like resistance with electricity. The electricity stops flowing if you put a resistor in the system. And I think as human beings, we're very good at identifying with negative emotion or making a story about it. And essentially that's like resistance in the system. So things stay a bit stuck and not flowing very well for longer.
You know, I appreciate what you're both saying. we were talking earlier about symbols, right? And signs. And just very quickly, the place where I work out, I go there 4 or 5 times a week, and I don't park in front of it because I want someone else who might want to park there, and maybe they don't want to walk as far. I park far away so that I can get some extra steps in. And the last couple of weeks, this bird, this black bird, literally swooped down. I looked it up and it's called dive bombing, I think. And 3 days in a row, or there was a day in between, 3 different days, this bird literally did the same thing and was following me, and I was flipping out. And I spoke to someone and I shared that this happened, and the person said, well, they have a message. There's a message that the bird's trying to bring to you. And I thought, wow, I never looked at it that way. And fast forward, yesterday I went outside. My car, excuse me, is on the driveway. And on the left-hand side, it was covered in bird dew. And my aunt and uncle who live on the other side, they had nothing on their cars. And I thought, that bird, there is a message. So my point is that instead of looking at things as, why is this happening to me? Why is it happening for me? What is the message? What can I learn? And by the way, Jenetta, I saw butterflies when I was walking, and I always think now about Jenny, even though I never met her. And I have this necklace, and I thought, every time I put this on, I'm going to think of her and think of you. Mm-hmm. And no matter how many times I straighten it, it keeps going over to the left for some reason. I don't know what that means, but they're all signs or symbols. And I think that if we are open to receiving, we will find that there is a great message there.
Absolutely. And what I love about what you've just said is being able to not go into expectation of wanting that message. It's going, okay, there's a message there. Now let's see how it plays out and what it gives. And that subtlety of just allowing. Again, it's another form of allowing. And suddenly something will happen that will, if you were rushing around trying to find the message, would more than likely miss. And it's in the subtlety of just being that suddenly you get that, that's why. Oh, that's somebody says something, or even does a glance or takes an action, or something flashes up on your screen that you would have missed if you were so busy doing and looking. It's amazing how just allowing those messages to play out creates incredible insight.
I agree with you. And just one other thing I'll share is, instead of being afraid of the bird, because after the first time I was like, what's going on? And people are in their cars, they saw it was taking place. Now I'm actually looking for the bird. I'm looking up instead of looking down. And I'm saying, oh my gosh, look how beautiful it is here in this just parking lot. I never even looked up at all the different kinds of trees. So I feel like it's happened for a reason. And to your point, I'm not searching for a message, but I'm being more open and looking up instead of looking down.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And I mean, that is why I believe that's what creates that synergy, where I was in, and Karen and I were in the right place at the right time to meet each other in the most appropriate moment with that synergy. Whereas if I'd been, I've got to find more, and and I've got to endorse it, and I've got to show it, and in fact, from the very first message, if anybody who hasn't read Full Circle Rainbow, which is the book that I started chronicling all these happenings, that very first time I went into meditation and said, okay, I'm ready 3 months on after Jenny's death to get some more signs. But I'm not going to dictate what they have to be or when they have to be. And I'm there going, okay, today, not a cloud in the sky, but Jenny, send me rainbows. Going, yeah, how's that going to happen? Rain's not even vaguely predicted. And as I came out of being in that meditative state, I looked at my music center on the other side of the room, and it was filled with prisms of rainbow light. I was going, what? what is this? Still no clouds, nothing. And I had to trace it. And eventually a beam of light was coming through my window in my lounge and hitting an upturned CD disc right there, right where the disc was. And that's what that was. And from that day on, I knew that it was about just allowing. That was the confirmation of the rainbows. So, Karen, I wanted to ask you, and I ask all my guests on our show this question. If your life had gone according to plan as a geologist, and you'd been successful and gone on another path because what happened to you hadn't happened to you, and you'd gone according to what you wanted your life, or you thought you wanted your life to be, because we don't know what we really want it to be, but the plan you had at that time, what would be missing in your life now?
I can't answer that question, Jenetta. I have no idea what another path would have been like, and I never go there in my mind.
Not what's the other path. What would be missing if your other path had gone? What have you got now through not going that path? What's it given you that if you'd gone that path would be missing?
Well, I fundamentally believe that life is really about growth and learning. So maybe life would have given me something similar in a different way. I mean, what's happened to me is physically much more obvious because I'm sat in a wheelchair. And so it's very clear to people that I've had a trauma or some kind of, well, maybe not a trauma, it could be from birth, but there's clearly something that's visible. And that's clearly given me something. And that, it's given me, I think trauma forces us to go inside and to ask big questions. What is this all about? Who am I? What really matters? What's my contribution? What, kind of the meaning of life questions, which I remember asking when I was laid in bed as about a 10-year-old, actually looking up at the sky, wondering about these things. So, but definitely it's given me that, it's given me so much. I mean, it's given me huge perspectives that I would never have had if I had been a walking person. So I'm fundamentally positive, and I'm always looking for what the gift is rather than what's been taken away. So I don't know how that would have appeared in another life or another unfolding of events. Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. You have such positive energy, just like radiating through the computer screen.
That's good.
It's very good. So I would love for you to share with our audience as we come to the end of our show, because we have another show right after this, some key takeaways that people can start doing right now to feel better about themselves, to honor themselves. What would you say, Karen?
I would say that just start to notice start to notice yourself, like observe yourself. How are you reacting? How are you responding? What are the stories that are going on in your head? And how might you be able to change them, shift them, change your perspective? And that thing you said, what's happening for me instead of what's happening to me, is a hugely empowering question, because immediately we start to look for the possibility and the opportunity and the learning in it, which can really take us to a different place and a very special place, rather than putting ourselves into victim mode. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. And for people who want to reach out to you, Karen, we've been showing your different banners, but if they can't read the banner or they're on the radio, what's the best way to contact you, and who would you like to reach out to?
Yeah, via my website is a good place. They come direct to me, so I try and answer people occasionally. I might let one slip through the net by accident, but I try my best. So it's KarenDarke.com. It's Karen with a K and Darke with an E on the end. And if you contact me via there, it comes straight to me.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Jenetta, before we close out, do you want to say anything about World Jenny's Day and where it's going to be broadcast from, and any other details for people?
I'd love to do that. And I'm so looking forward to doing more with you, Karen, as well this year with World Jenny's Day. So this year's World Jenny's Day, I am delighted, proud, and honored to be able to say is going to be held on the USA Global TV platform. So 10th of October is going to show us doing some amazing things through theatre and the arts, but not just limited to that. And in actual fact, before that, Karen and I have something that's happening in Kenya in June, where she's flying out to Kenya. I will be out there. And from June the 12th to the 16th, we're doing a bike ride from the foothills or the base of Kilimanjaro and through Tsavo Game Reserve West and Tsavo Game Reserve East and right up to the north coast of Kenya to a beach known as Watamu Beach. And each night we'll be spending a different night in a different lodge or a different camp, cycling in between all the animals with people who are very trained to do that with us. And we'd like to invite anybody who'd like to join us for World Jenny's Day, Get Fit for Jenny 79, to have a look at the worldjennysday.com website, and it says there bike ride. Go into there, you'll get all the information to join us this June. We would love to have you come through and have an experience of a lifetime, because imagine, you know, you're cycling along and there are elephants there, and then you go a little bit further on and there's some rhino and buck, and you're right there in the middle of the game park cycling.
I'm not naturally fearful, but I am a little bit nervous about that.
I was going to say, do they know to stay where they're supposed to stay?
They do. You know, them, unless you're threatening them, they're fine. And of course, we're cycling with people who are doing these safaris all the time in the game park. So there are backup vehicles. They know what they're doing. They're very experienced. Janine and Chris Angel. Janine went to school with me in Kenya, and she and her husband, Chris, they do these regularly. I think by June, it'll be their 5th or 6th safari this year. So they're doing them all the time. They're very, very astute, and they know what does and doesn't and should and shouldn't. So you're very safe with that. So I'd love, if you'd like to know more, go to the website and join Karen and I on this amazing adventure. I can't wait.
I'm excited for both of you. That sounds fantastic. Excuse me. I'll actually be in Philadelphia doing a walk for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
Same time, Karen.
June the 12th, yes.
June the 12th, yes. Yeah. So, yeah, there we go. So, Karen, I just want to say, again, such an honor and privilege to have you here with us. I just love sharing with you, connecting with you, and I'm so very glad that the two of you have met each other. And I can't wait for the day where we can all meet up face to face. It'll be amazing.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
I agree. I'm planning on coming in November for an event in London. So,
and you're going to be in, because Karen doesn't live in UK. Karen, do you want to say where, what?
Well, I'm kind of half and half. I'm partly in Spain, in Mallorca, where I started coming to train for the Paralympics, and then partly away and wherever, a bit nomadic, and then partly in Scotland. So, but if you let us know when you're coming, I will do my best to be there.
Exactly. Me three, because I'm in between Kenya and here as well. So here being Oxford, for those who don't know. So I've got a base in Oxford and re-establishing our base in Kenya, which we let go of over COVID times. So, but then maybe you can come through to Kenya.
Who knows? The sky's the limit. I can just take my green screen and my equipment and be ready to go.
You can do a Jenetta.
Yeah, that's exactly. One of our team members, Roland Friedel, he has lived on the island of Mallorca for 14 years. So I don't know if you know him, but I'd love to have you on that show. He actually is in his RV traveling through Europe. He just left, I think, in the beginning of April. But that would be so much fun to connect the two of you.
Absolutely, love to.
Yeah, beautiful. I'll be in touch with you then. We could have you on almost every show that we have, and then again, and then more, because you have so much to share. And you're exactly what this platform is about, Karen. So thank you for being here today. And again, I'd love to have you on our other shows as well.
Thank you so much. Really great to meet you. Thanks.
Thank you. Nice meeting you too. Bye.
Love you
Jenetta.
lots, special lady.
Jenetta, thank you so much for bringing Karen to the show. It's she's a beautiful person inside and out, and I just feel there's going to be more synergies. I'm excited to introduce her to Roland and other of our team members. So before we sign off, I know you already mentioned the website, but I'm going to put you on spotlight again. What is the best way for people to reach you, to work with you, to get involved with the event?
Oh, thank you. Anybody who wants to get involved with World Jenny's Day, we'd love you to be a part and parcel. Although we're using theatre and the arts to normalize conversations around depression and suicide, if there are other ways that you would like to bring your form of expertise to the table, we're not limiting things. After all, most things are an art anyway, whatever you're doing, even maths is an art. So please feel free to reach out on worldjennysday.com. In terms of the epiphany process, for anybody that's feeling overwhelmed, just to the point, even vaguely overwhelmed, but even to the point where you just wonder how you're going to take your next breath, and it all feels too much and you just don't know how to cope. If you'd like to learn the coping questions that the process provides, please reach out to me at theepiphanyprocess.com, because I can tell you that it's a scientific approach and it really is very accurate. It works. After all, I'm living proof of having got through a really most terrific life test. So please do feel free to reach out on either or both. If you'd like to get involved in the Epiphany side or World Jenny's Day, I'm contactable on both those websites, and I so look forward to meeting you in the future.
Thank you so much, Jenetta. It was great seeing you, and I look forward to seeing you backstage in just a couple minutes.
Yes.
Yay. Okay, bye for now. Thank you, everyone. Whether you're watching on the live or on the replay, we are live streaming right now to 11 TV platforms and 3 radio platforms. I just want to share with you our schedule for the rest of the day. You can stay wherever you are watching us. I'm going to run to the various studios to host and produce. So our next show is Talking Heads. After that, we have the United Kingdom, news and culture, followed by fashion, travel, and fitness. Then we have the Business Talk Show. And then we have a series of Talking Heads episodes. Talking Heads, if you are not familiar, is our platform where people from around the world who are experts in their field come and share presentations with us in their own 30-minute show. So our next show is coming up, as I mentioned, Talking Heads with Diane Floyd-Bain. So please do stay around and watch and learn. She is going to be talking about things that you can benefit from by being a master storyteller. Who doesn't want to know more about that exciting topic? All right, that's all for now. Thanks so much. We'll be back in less than 10 minutes.